All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name's Nicole, and welcome back to our English class. I am excited to be here with you all today. I hope you all are ready to learn something that you can use every single day. Now, look at our slide. What do you see? You see two different pictures, right? And in both of them, people are talking to each other. This one and also this one. They are basically having a conversation. Now, sometimes starting a conversation is easy, right? We say hi, we ask, how are you? Or what did you do over the weekend? But have you ever been in a situation where the conversation suddenly stops and you don't know what to say next? Okay, you might feel a little bit awkward and maybe you just stand there in silence because I know I have. Okay, well, that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. Our topic is on maintaining or carrying a conversation. This is one of the main areas of small talk, right? Again, the main areas of small talk is first small talk initiation, how you start the conversation. We are already done with that in our previous meetings. And then followed by this one, maintaining or carrying. And lastly, small talk ending, how we end the conversation. Now we focus on maintaining or carrying. So we're done with small talk initiation. So we are going to focus or we are going to put our attention on the second part of small talk, which is on maintaining or carrying a conversation. Now the word maintaining means to keep something going. Think of it like a car. You need to maintain your car so it keeps running smoothly. Carrying a conversation is a similar idea. You are the one helping it move forward, preventing it from stopping completely. So basically, we are going to learn how to keep a conversation alive and interesting. Okay? This is what we call conversational English. So the idea of conversational English for our previous meetings for the last or past few weeks, we covered different topics under conversational English. And now under conversational English, we are talking about small talk, and under small talk, we're talking about maintaining or carrying. Okay? All right. Now, for a moment. All right. Okay. Because there's something on my screen. I am sorry for that. Anyway, let's continue. This is again maintaining or carrying. Okay. This is part of small talk, which is also a part of conversational English. Now, it is so important because it is not just about knowing grammar here, any grammar rules, any vocabulary words, but it is also about using what you know to connect with other people, okay? To make new friends or just have a nice chat with someone you just met. For example, you can imagine you meet a new classmate or workmate in a cafeteria. Of course, you say, hi, how's your day going? And they say, it's good. Okay, it's good. Now, after that, what? What do you say to continue the conversation if you want to continue the conversation? Do you just walk away? Of course not. No, as much as possible, we try to connect with people if we are comfortable with them or if you want to be comfortable with them. Okay? We need to learn how to ask the right questions and how to respond in a way that keeps the chat flowing. So in this lecture, for this session, we will be looking at different phrases you can use to keep a conversation going. We will learn how to ask follow-up questions, how to react, how to share your own thoughts and experiences, and how to show that you are really listening to the other person. We'll talk about things like using filler phrases, like oh, that's interesting, something like that, and how to properly respond to what the other person is saying. Now, this is not just a theory. We will be practicing these skills together so you can feel more confident the next time you talk to someone. Okay, let's start by thinking about a simple conversation you had recently. Maybe you talked to a friend or a family member. What did you talk about? What's the conversation it is all about? Did you notice any moments where you had to think about what to say next? We're going to tackle those moments and turn you into a conversation professional, if I may say. If not, then a confident one when it comes to conversing with other people using English language. Okay, let's go over to our next slide, where of course you will immediately be met into our first phrase for today's session. Okay, let's jump into our first and one of the most important tools for maintaining a conversation, which is what we call rejoinders, no? Which includes being surprised. It could be positive or it could be negative. Now, before we tackle with our first phrase here, let's identify or let's understand better what rejoinder is. Now, a rejoinder, though this might be, unfamiliar to you. If not, this is a fancy word. This has a fancy word, no? Rejoinders. It might be unfamiliar to you. It might be new to you. This is the first time you've met this word, or if not, it's not a simple thing that you can immediately get in the first time. Okay, it's a fancy word for a very simple thing. A rejoinder is just a short, quick response you give when someone says something. It's like a small reaction. It shows to the other person that you are listening and that you care about what they are saying. Rejoinders are a fantastic way to fill a small pause and encourage the speaker to say more. So they keep the ball rolling in a conversation. Okay? Now look at the slide. The first example we have is, oh wow. Very simple. This is a great rejoinder you can use when you hear something that surprises you, or something that is really interesting, or something that is impressive. So, meaning this is a positive reaction. Okay? A positive reaction mostly. Now, let me give you an example. You can imagine your friend says to you, I just get a new job. I'm going to be a flight attendant. You cannot just say, okay, and stop there, right? That sounds like you don't care, no? Instead of, you can use a rejoinder. You could say, oh wow, that's cool, something like that. So see how that simple phrase shows your friend that you are happy for them and that you are interested. Okay? Or what if your friend says, I saw a big snake in my garden yesterday? You could respond with, oh wow, are you okay? That sounds scary. Again, oh wow shows your surprise and your concern. So, oh wow really is a versatile phrase. No, you can use it for something good, something positive, like getting a new job, or for something surprising or a little bit scary. The most important part is to say it with the right tone of voice. You need to sound genuinely surprised and interested. But of course, let's try to, so meaning that we try to match our tone with what we are intending to convey. With what kind of message we are intending to convey. I'm sorry for that. Anyway, for now, let's think of some more rejoinders. Now here, the slide mentions again, they can be surprised, positive or negative. Now, can anyone think of another quick reaction you might use? What if you hear some bad news? For example, um, let's just say, if a friend says my dog is sick, what could you say? Like, you wouldn't probably say, "Oh wow," because that sounds so wrong. Like, friend, friend Anna, let's just say, Anna, my dog is sick. And then Anna would respond, "Oh wow." Of course, that totally sounds wrong. No? It does not really align with the message that was conveyed by the other person. So, in here, you can or you might say something like, "Oh no," or "I am sorry to hear that." These are also rejoinders, okay? But they show a negative or sad reaction. That's the flip side. That's the other part, no? Because we have already talked about the positive side. Okay? All right. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Let me go back. Okay. So this is our first phrase again. Oh, wow. Next to this is really. So great job on the last or on the first word, everyone. We just learned about rejoinders like oh, wow, which of course shows surprise and interest. Now let's move on to our next one, which is another really, really useful phrase you will hear and use all the time. Really? Okay, look at the slide. It's just one word, very simple, but this one word, if I may say, it is a secret weapon in conversational English. Like, really is technically a question, but we often use it as a powerful rejoinder to show we are listening. Okay? To show or to express our surprise or to encourage the person to tell us more. So it's a quick, simple way to keep the conversation from stopping. It's like putting a little bit of fuel into the conversation to keep the engine running. Okay? So the amazing thing about this phrase, really, it is that it is, its meaning can change completely depending on how you say it. Really? 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 So your tone of voice here is everything. Okay? You can use it in a positive way, a negative way, or even a doubtful way. So let's try to break down the three main ways we can use this word. The first way, and probably the most common way, is to show genuine interest or surprise. Okay? When you use really, let me just put it right here, okay? So that you will be guided properly. Oh no, where is it? Okay. Again, really can mean different things depending on how you say it. Okay? Which is especially paired by the tone of your voice. So your tone of voice is everything here. Now, again, there are three main ways we can use this word or this phrase. First is that we show genuine interest or surprise. So it's first is on okay. For a moment, let me put this three main ways to use to use. Let's just put that to use. Okay, three main ways to use it. Okay, number one is show genuine. Again, show genuine. How do you call that? Shows genuine. I forgot the term. I'm sorry. Genuine interest. Okay, I'm sorry for that. Genuine interest or surprise. That's the first one. Okay, for a moment. All right, that's the first one. The second one is for a moment. Okay, so first is First is to show genuine interest or surprise. Second is to show doubt. Okay, show doubt. Again, show doubt or even a little disbelief. Okay, and lastly is the third way is to clarify something. Okay, to clarify something. Again, the three main ways to use the phrase really is first to show genuine interest or surprise. Second, show doubt or even a little disbelief. And lastly, to clarify something. Okay? All right. Let's try to explain. Let's try to explain each way in more detail. Okay? Of course, we are going to start with the first one. Show genuine interest or surprise. Really can be used to show genuine interest or surprise. Okay? Now, when it comes to this, when you use really this way, no, first one, your voice should go up at the end, just like a normal question. No, it shows that you are excited. I am so sorry for that. Anyway, let me continue. Again, for the first one, it shows that you are excited, you are impressed by what you just heard. Okay? Imagine your friend. Let's name him Miguel. If Miguel comes to you and says, "Hey, I just finished reading an entire book in just one day." If you just nod and say, "Okay," okay, he might think you don't care at all. No? But if you respond with "really," with a bright, enthusiastic tone, it shows him you think that is impressive. He will likely smile and say, "Yeah, I just couldn't put it down. It was so good." Something like that. No? It could even elicit more responses. So see how your rejoinder keeps him talking and sharing his experience. It's a very positive and encouraging way to react. Let's try another example. Let's say your classmate Sarah says, "My family is going to have a big party this weekend because my sister just got engaged." That is big news, right? You could respond by saying, "Really? That's amazing. Tell me more about it." By using "really" first, you immediately shows her that you are happy for her and you want to hear the details. It's an open door for her to continue sharing her good news with you. So remember, a rising tone for "really" shows genuine interest or positive interest, or a positive interest or genuine interest. Okay? All right. Now let's look at the second way we can use it, which is to show doubt or even a bit of disbelief. Okay? Again, to show doubt, to clarify something. That is when you hear something that sounds a little bit unbelievable. Maybe it's a little bit of stretch, or you want to make sure that it's true. So when you use "really," this way your voice, it will go down. Okay? It will often go down slightly at the end, and you might even say it in a browser. Okay? All right. So let me continue. Again, let me just see for a moment because I keep having these pop-ups, which really is distracting me. I'm sorry for that. Okay. Again, first is genuine interest. Okay? Where am I? Second, sorry. Yeah, let's look at the second way to use the phrase "really," which is to show doubt or even a little disbelief. This is when you hear something that sounds a little bit unbelievable. Okay? Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, or you want to make sure it is true. So when you use "really," this way your voice will often go down slightly at the end, and you might even say it a bit slower. So it sounds less like a question. Okay? For example, of course, here it's not. It sounds no. It sounds like a question, but it is more like a statement. For example, you can imagine a classmate says, "I can do push-ups without stopping." That's a lot, right? You might respond with "Really?" said with a slow, flat tone and a slight pause. So this signals that you're a little bit skeptical. It's a polite way of saying, "Is that true?" or "I don't know if I believe you." Now, the person might then have to prove it or clarify what they meant. For example, they might say, "Yeah, really, I've been training for a year." They would respond like that. And then the conversation can continue from there. No? You can maintain the conversation flow. Now, let's try one more example for this. A friend tells you, "I heard our class will have a surprise quiz tomorrow and it will be on everything we've learned this semester." So if you heard that, you might feel a little bit worried and you would want to confirm if it's true. So you could say, "Really? A surprise quiz and everything?" Okay, I'm sorry for that. It is muted. Anyway, yes, you mentioned, or not you, but your friend mentioned that um yeah, that situation. So you could say in response to that, "Really?" No, as simple as "Really." That could already go a long way. That could already mean a lot of things. Okay, "Really? Are you sure?" So the tone here shows your concern and your need for confirmation, which hits our third main use, which is to clarify something, because we are confused of something and we need to be clarified with that. Now, this is a perfect way to show that you are listening while also getting more information. So to recap, the three most common ways or most common uses is: a rising tone shows positive surprise or excitement. A falling flat tone shows a little bit of doubt, or that you want to check if the information is true. Now, the third way here is using "really" to clarify something. Okay? To clarify something. This is a very polite and simple way to ask for more information. For example, if your friend says the new restaurant on the corner has great food, but the service is really slow, you could respond with, "Oh, really? How slow is it?" Okay, you started with, you paired "really" with "oh" for more emphasis effect or dramatic effect. So in this case, you are not doubting them. You just want a more specific detail. Okay? So the beauty of this word or of this phrase "really" is that it is so flexible despite that it is only one word. It is a quick and simple way to keep a conversation going without having to think of a complex response. It helps you listen actively and show the other person that you are interested in what they have to say. So it's a great way to fill those awkward silences and make the other person you are talking to really feel heard. Now let's try to practice this a little bit. I'm going to say some sentences and I want you to respond with "really." Okay, using the correct tone. All right. Let's have the first sentence. If I say my brother's dog can jump over a 2-meter fence, how would you say the phrase "really"? Okay, you say it, of course, in a positive way. Our school cafeteria is now serving pizza every single day. Is that still positive? Well, that is still positive for you. And lastly, I heard that you canceled the school fair because of the rain. This is totally positive for you. Something like that. Okay, if you are a student. All right. So great job great job so far, everyone. See how you can communicate so much with just one word. No, this is a skill that will make you a much better and more engaging conversationalist. So let's keep going and look at our next way to maintain a conversation. Okay, maintain a conversation. This phrase, no way are you serious? This is what you see or what you use when you are truly and genuinely shocked or surprised by something. Like, this is not for small news. This is for big, significant, or unbelievable news. So it's a very strong emotional response that tells the other person, I can't believe what I just heard and I need to know if it's true. Okay? So this reminder, or this rejoinder, I'm sorry, this rejoinder is powerful because because it's actually two parts that work together beautifully. Okay? First, you have here again, no way. Let's focus, let's break down the parts. No way. Okay? This part is a pure comical, not comical, but emotional, okay? It's pure of emotional exclamation. It's your initial reaction, like a jolt or jolt of surprise. It means I can't believe it and shows the other person you are completely stunned. So it's a powerful way to quick phrase that grabs their attention and shows you are fully engaged in what they are saying. Okay? Then after that, you follow up with are you serious? This is the part that asks for confirmation. It's a question that says, I'm so shocked that I have to check if this is joke or if you're telling me the truth. So this combination is of an emotional reaction and a question for confirmation, which makes it incredibly good. Okay? This is an effective tool for maintaining conversation. It doesn't just react. Okay? Alright. Okay. That's the last one for today's topic, everyone. Again, we are going to focus on the contemporary, not the contemporary, I'm sorry. We're going to have this particular phrase, no way, are you serious? This is just some example. We've already tackled about no way. Have we? Yes. And next to that, of course, is are you serious? Okay, you follow what you've said with the phrase are you serious? You followed it here. This is the part that asks for confirmation. It's a question that says I am so shocked that I have to check if this is a joke or if you are telling me the truth. So this combination of an emotional reaction and a question for the confirmation makes it an incredibly effective tool for maintaining a conversation. So it doesn't just react. It begins with, how do you call that? It begs for more information. Okay, just like with really, the tone of your voice is the most important part here. You can use no way, are you serious, for a very good news, or for a very good news. Okay, and for very bad news. So let me give you some examples so you can see the difference. You can see the difference. That is a job done by your English teachers, high school ones, okay? That should be familiar to you already. Let's start with a positive situation. You can imagine your friend who has been studying so hard for a difficult exam comes up to you and says, guess what? I got the highest score in the class on that exam. This is a huge news. You would want to show your friend how proud and impressed you are. So you could say with a big smile on your face and a lot of excitement in your face, shows your excitement, okay? And then immediately leads into a question that keeps the conversation going. So your friend will feel so happy and will want to tell you about how they studied and how they felt when they saw their score. So this makes the conversation feel warm and supportive, okay? Now let's think about a negative situation. Imagine a friend tells you something really disappointing. For example, I get a flat tire on my way to school this morning, and of course, I would want you to know you can always reach out. I can always reach out to you, so it's a good thing already. No way, are you serious? No? So that is our, how many already? That is already our third phrase. Okay? So the tone of your voice, again, this is the most important. You can use no way, are you serious, for very good news and for very bad news. Okay? Alright. Next to you is, okay. Okay, all good. So the next one is you're kidding, right? Again, you're kidding, right? So this is the next one. Okay? But again, I guess I don't know if still this is still morning or afternoon. Our class is on morning, right? This class. Okay. All right. Okay. I mean evening. I'm sorry. This is for evening. Okay. All right. We have the next phrase. So that is all for what phrase? No way. Are you serious? This is the next phrase. Okay. I hope you are feeling more confident with your rejoinders. We just practice using no way. Are you serious for big news? Confident. I hope you're feeling more confident with your rejoinders. So we just practiced using no way. Are you serious? For the last one. No way. Are you serious? For big. How do you call that? Um, I forgot them. Sorry. But anyway, the focus is that the few sentences that you can use for this is that maybe as simple as telling you that they forgot their wallet at home. So you could say, no way, are you serious? Okay. All right. It just take a few minutes to practice, and when you're ready, we'll move on to our next strategy for keeping a conversation going. Okay. All right, I guess none. So let's move on, of course, immediately with rejoinder still. But this is surprised, passive, negative also. But this is, how do you call it? Cognitive. Yeah. Okay. All right. So just like our other rejoinders, we have two focus on the outline, name, age, address, facts about yourself, and expectations to the subject, to the teacher, to me also. Okay. All right. So this is just an example. You're kidding, right? So let's try to look at how you can use this for positive news. You can imagine yourself or your friend who has been working on on a big project for months. They come to you with some exciting news. So they say, I just heard from our boss and my project is chosen as the best one. And, they are going to use it for the company. So this is a fantastic news. How do you call that? This is a fantastic news. Okay, you're kidding, right? Okay, all right. So they say, I just heard our voice, something like that. No, this is a fantastic news for them. A simple that's good is not enough, but your intuition is already not good enough too. No? Okay. All right. That is for, not yet, but this is so far what we know about you're kidding, right? Okay. All right. Now here, to better understand it, of course, we try to, I'm sorry. Let me check my slide. Okay, all good. To check your slides, to really check if the students understand that, you could imagine your friend. You could tell them that you are working and that you are also a masterand. Okay. So look at how you can use this for positive news. Imagine your friend who has been working on a big project for months comes to you with some exciting news. They say, who has been, or sorry, who has been, okay, who has the particular seat choices or seat style. Okay, let's try to change that. Let's have, maybe since you like green, we can touch upon on that. Green lighting. Okay. Alright, good. So the beauty of you're kidding, right? This is the last, not yet last, but this is another idea that was encapsulated into me. Okay. Okay, all good. All right. So that is for how do you call that? Maintaining or carrying a balance. Next is consuming. Let's just say consuming, because there's also damage from our parts, which is much more really expensive. Okay. Now, when it comes to this, the Google, you just, introduce yourself as much as possible. Introductions should always be there because, again, this is your first time meeting each other. Nakahinumdum na ba mo sa, nakahinumdum, sorry. Um, this will be your first time to, meeting each other. So you could just, say this phrase, that's great, or that's amazing, or if not you with other person meeting each other for the first time, but the product. So this only means that you are really trying your best to buy that product by saving. Okay, that is already an indicator that you are good with this thing. Okay, all right. For a moment, let me just go over with my slide because I don't know why there are constantly pop-ups in my background. I want to remove that. Okay. Anyway, since it would be much harder, let's just continue with small talk. The key to using this phrase effectively is sincerity. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Where is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Oh no. For a moment, everyone, I'm so sorry. Let me just check here. I'll just tweak some settings on my laptop because there are so many, pop-ups really showing. And it's so uncomfortable. I keep being distracted. Okay. Where are we again? That is amazing, or okay, for a moment. Okay. Let me continue. It's already off. Okay. All right. We are going to continue with another rejoinder. That's great. That's amazing. That's terrible. That's too bad. So that's great and that's amazing. That is the positive side. That's terrible or that's too bad. That is on the negative side. So there are some of the most common and useful rejoinders in English because they give a clear and direct emotional response. So they are simple. They are easy to use and they show the person you are talking to that you understand the situation and that you understand how you feel about it. Okay? So let's try to break them down starting with the positive ones. First, we have that's great and that's amazing. You use these phrases when someone tells you good news. That's great. It is a very common all-purpose phrase for positive news. It shows that you are a happy person. You are a happy, not a happy person. Yeah, you are a happy person for the other person. Okay, that's great. So you can use it for almost any good thing. For example, if your friend says, I passed the driving test or my driving test, a perfect response is, that's great, congratulations. So you can see how it's simple, clear, and very encouraging. And next to that, aside from that's great, we also have another positive feedback. That's amazing. This is a bit stronger than great. You would use it for news, and that is particularly impressive or wonderful already. But think about a time when you were really impressed by something someone did. For example, if a friend says, I just finished a 10-kilometer marathon, you could say, that's amazing. I can't believe you did that. So this how do you call that? This rejoinder shows a higher level of excitement and admiration so that you can choose between my two friends. Okay? or between your two friends, I'm sorry. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about the other side of the coin, which is on negative news. We have two very useful rejoinders here, that is terrible and that is too hot. For the difference, to know the difference between those two branches, because they are, yeah. Now, on the other hand, that's too bad is for small disappointments or minor bad loss. Um, in common phrase, to help express sympathy for something that is a little bit sad but not a big deal. For example, if a friend says the coffee shop ran out of the mango shake, I would want that kind of grading system. Okay, feeling. Okay, and in advance also. Okay, let's do a quick comparison to really understand the difference of before, and then lastly is Maos. Okay, or not lastly but third of the ASEAN countries. So you mentioned how, what is it? What was it? Pero okay, let's see if that is also part of United United Southeast Asian nations. Okay, all right. When it comes to expectations for the teacher, um, from what we've tackled, oh, for a moment, yeah, from what we've tackled so far, because there's two more. What we've tackled so far, it helps you choose an appropriate emotional response. Okay, all right. Guess everybody's ready for a moment. For a moment. Okay, you can see me. All right. Second is on how do you call that, tutor. This one for skills, of course, for classroom experience. Okay. All right. Now, second, ending a long term or long semester with gratefulness. Okay. And then second is on ending a lesson for a long, tedious, boring people, something like that. Okay. All right. Are you the last one, miss? I can't really read it again for a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, all good. All right. Next to this one, the grandparent is already totally fine as per doctor's diagnosis. He also encouraged us to have screen ear monitor. Okay. All right. So when it comes to maintaining or carrying the child, it's just very simple. You just have to make them do that. Okay? All right. For a moment. Okay. Oh no. What happened? Okay, it continued. All right. I'm so sorry for that. It refreshed. Okay. The stream refreshed, but it still continued. So, of course, we will also continue. Okay? All right. For a moment. Okay. So that is great. That is amazing. That is terrible. That is too bad. So we've already talked about the positive ones. So that's great or that's amazing. When it comes to negative, that's terrible or that's too bad. Sometimes there are times when we are ending a long, tedious, or maybe not those two, maybe a boring topic. So sometimes we get stuck in conversations about things we don't really want to talk about. Maybe a classmate is talking, a workmate talking for a long time about a project you are not involved in, or a friend is telling a story that just won't end. Um, using anyway for this, and then paired by that's great or that's amazing or that's terrible, that's too bad. It is a polite way to wrap up the subject and introduce a new, more interesting one. Okay? All right. This is our first phrase for the day. So in here, you try to imagine you're talking to classmate about a school project and they are giving you every single detail, even though you just need to play the main points. Okay? All right. That is for conversational English. Where are we? Why is everyone not here? For a moment, let me just check. Okay, that's good. All right. Now, that is for the second one. Ending a long, tedious, or boring topic. So, we use these conversations to fill in the gap or the awkwardness of the conversation. Okay. Next to this is what we call. I'm sorry. Where are we? Okay. My slide was not showing. I am so sorry for that. I wasn't able to really look into it. Okay? All right. Let me check if my for a moment. If my what is happening? So sorry. Let me check if my screen is totally fine for a moment. Okay, I think it's already good in my end and in your end hopefully. Okay. I'm taking notes of the phrases or the parts of the phrases that I need to elaborate more, especially if it is not enough, our time is not enough. So we are going to talk about that on our next meeting, which is immediately tomorrow. Okay? For a moment. Let me just check because there are times that it is much harder for us to really really consume or really ingest in our minds the topics or the different phrases that we have here. Okay? All right. For a moment, let me just check. Yeah. No name of the professor. Where are we now? So sorry, I got lost totally. And also it's let me just check. Ah, yeah. What's the first phrase again? Okay. That is why we're already in the here. Even though if it should be here, I'm sorry. This one. Okay. For the subject, maintaining or for the subject functional English, which is where maintaining or carrying, and conversational English is will be put. Okay. Check the lines. All right. Anyway, let's move on with this one. Rejoinders. Still with rejoinders. Again, what is a rejoinder? We do that. We use certain phrases to rejoin, to make the conversation really flows more smoothly. It will flow much longer than what is needed or what is necessary. Okay. Okay, let me put it there. Okay. Oh, it's not written for a moment. Let me write it again. I thought it was written already. Rejoinders. Okay. All right, that's good. The text is already there. Okay. For a moment. Where is it? Oh no. Again, rejoinders. Okay, there it is. My laptop is totally not working well today. I am so sorry for that. If you have any questions, please tell me so that I can address the things that I need to focus on our next meeting, especially the ones that you weren't able to totally learn or totally understand for today's lesson. I will reteach it for you. Okay? Again, what is a rejoinder? This is a fancy word for a very simple thing, as I've mentioned earlier. This is just a short and quick response. For a moment. This is just a short and quick response you give when someone says something. Okay? Again, this rejoinders is what we usually mean with rejoinders is these are short and quick response or responses. Okay? Response or responses you give when someone says something. All right. I am so sorry for any technical errors. I did not also expect this. It took me too long to really settle in properly. I hope I am already settled in properly because how do I call it? The time is wasted. Okay? I will be able to reteach it if possible, that especially those things that are really not taught properly in a more consistent manner because I keep pausing, I keep being distracted. Okay? So sorry for that. My laptop is not working well today. Anyway, this is our okay. We're here, right? All right. Rejoinders are short and quick responses you give when someone says something. Okay? All right. That is on this idea. You're kidding, right? Now here, um, here we try to. Sorry, you're kidding, right? I think we're done with this one. You're kidding, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? You're kidding, right? All right, let me reteach it for you. Where is it? Okay. All right. Rejoinders, which can show surprised. It can also show being positive or being negative. Okay. Now, these are short and quick responses you give when someone says something. Now, when it comes to "you're kidding," right? This particular phrase, this is a rejoinder because it does two important things. It shows that you are listening, you hear what the other person has said to you, and it shows your reaction. It shows that you are surprised, or maybe you don't quite believe it. Okay, so it's just a way to keep the conversation going without having to say long complicated sentences. So it's a natural part of how we talk. Okay, for example, when it comes to this, you're kidding, right? It could mean a lot of things depending on how we pair it with the tone, with the tone of our voices. It could be first is on surprise. It could be like that. I'm sorry. It could be surprise, like no way, seriously, or it could be happiness. Okay. Happiness. It could also be on disappointment. So all of these are short, quick responses. Okay, we use them all the time without even thinking about it. So today, we are practicing it. No, we are using them so you can keep your conversations flowing naturally. Okay. All right. Now next is this one. That's great. That's amazing. That's terrible. That's too bad. Okay? Everyone, remember last time we talked about rejoinders, no? Last slide, we talked about rejoinders. So those short phrases we use to react to someone. Now they are like little signals that show we are listening and we understand. So today we are going to look at one that is super useful because it can be used for so many different situations. Look at this phrase. That's great. That's amazing. That's terrible. That's too bad. You'll notice that the first part that stays the same, but we can change the last word to show different feelings. So this is a very common way native speakers react to news. Okay? For example, when it comes to positive news, maybe when someone tells us something good, we can say that's great. That's amazing. For example, if your friend tells you, I passed my exam, you would say that's great, and remember to use a happy, excited voice. Let's try to remember that. Okay, for negative news, that's terrible or that's too bad. What if the news is not so good? We need to show we are sorry or that we feel bad for them. No, we can use that's terrible. Let me write it for you again. Earlier, it could be when it comes to the good things or the good part, we can say. All right. For the positive, let me just highlight it for you. For positive responses, you can use that's great. That's great, or that's amazing. Okay? These are your options for positive responses, but there are actually plenty. But in this particular phrase given, great and amazing are what we considered positive responses. Okay? How about negative? No? What if the news is not so good? How do we compose our message here? And of course, it will be the other two left, terrible or too bad. Okay, we need to show we are sorry or that we feel bad for the other person. So we can use that's terrible. Oh no, okay, that's terrible, or if not that's terrible, that's too bad. Okay, for example, if your friend says my pet got sick, you wouldn't say that's amazing, right? You would say, oh, that's too bad, or that's terrible. And for this, you will need to use a soft, sad, or sympathetic voice. Okay? That is for this one. All right. And then the last, not yet last, but the next slide to have this one. To have this one, this particular phrase, which also has two different ways to say it. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad, or I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, we've been talking about rejoinders. We've been talking about short, quick responses that we use or utilize in conversation. So we've learned about that's great, that's too bad, which are very common. So today we're going to look at the similar but slightly more direct way to express your feelings. Okay, an indirect way. So look at this rejoinder in the slide. You'll say, I'm glad or sorry to hear that. Again, I'm glad or sorry to hear that. So this phrase is a bit different because, we directly say how we feel. Okay? It's a great way to show a person you care about what they are saying. It's just like before, we choose the word based on the situation. Okay? For good news, when someone tells you something good, you can always say, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, let me write it down for you. I'm glad to hear that. Okay? This is for good news. Okay? Good news. Now, when it comes to, before that, this means that I am happy for you because of what you just told me. Okay? That's the meaning of my sentence there. So, I'm so glad to hear that. That's already good. This shows that you are, I'm sorry, this shows that you are genuinely happy for their success. So, it's a very positive and supportive response. Okay? For bad news, okay? Anyway, if someone shares something negative, you can say, I'm sorry to hear that. So this doesn't mean you are apologizing. Instead, you are expressing sympathy. It's a way of saying, I feel bad because of what you just told me. For instance, a classmate says, my grandfather is sick. So you can respond with, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. So this is a very polite and kind way to show you care. Okay? All right. That is for this one. Again, yeah, this is the final 4. Okay, what is the last thing you would want to know about the other person? What do you think? Anyway, we've already put good news. I'm glad to hear that. For bad news, still instead of glad, I'm glad to hear that. Or if not glad, we can also say I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. This doesn't mean you are apologizing. Instead, you are expressing sympathy. So it's just a way of saying that you feel bad because of what you just told me, or or the hypothetical situations like grandfather is sick and such things. Okay. For bad news, again, for bad news, I'm sorry to hear that. For bad news, what do you call this? For bad news, if someone shares something negative, you can just say it to their faces, I'm sorry to hear that. So this does not mean you are apologizing. Instead, you are expressing sympathy. So it's just a way of saying, I feel bad because of what you just told me. For instance, if classmate says, my grandfather is sick, you can respond with, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. This is a very polite and kind way to show you care. Okay? The key difference between this and that's great is that I'm glad or I'm sorry, it feels a bit more, if I may say, it's a bit more personal, of course. It focuses on your feeling, while that's great focuses on the situation. Okay? All right. This is let's practice. I'll give you a sentence and you respond with the correct rejoinder. Okay? First one, I will give you a sentence and you can respond with the correct rejoinder. That's the sentence. Okay? How do you focus on your feeling? I get a great score on my report card and such things. I'm glad to hear that. And then my soccer practice was canceled today because of the rain. You say, I'm sorry to hear that. No, that's too bad. All right. Let's move on to the last phrase or phrases of today's session. Okay? Which is, that is insane, that is crazy, that is wild, that is nuts, that is unbelievable. Okay? All those five terms are just, similar to each other. They are just synonymous. So try to find a more focus or a heart of this particular thing. Okay? That is insane. That is crazy. That is wild or unbelievable. Okay? All right. We talked about rejoinders, how rejoinders show our reactions. We have practiced showing happiness with "that's great" and sympathy with "I'm sorry to hear that." We are going to focus on rejoinders that show surprise among amazement. Okay? When you hear something you can barely believe, something like that. Take a look at this phrase on the slide. That's insane, that's crazy, that's wild, that's nuts, that is unbelievable. So these are just all common or different ways to say I can't believe it. The first 3 years, insane is crazy. Okay? All right. So that's insane, that's crazy, that's wild, that's nuts, or that's unbelievable. Okay? And for these particular lines, we've talked about how rejoinders show our reactions. We've practiced showing the happiness with "that's great" or "screen," and surprise amazement when you hear something like "you can barely cake." Okay? What do we call your... Sorry for that. What do we call, or what phrase do we have here? Phrase or phrases? Let me just say phrase, I guess, because all those five phrases mean the same thing. It's just that they are put on the same thing. Okay? The same thing is put away in different ways. Okay? That is insane. All right. So these are all different ways to say I can't believe it. The first three, insane, crazy, minutes, and wild, very common in casual conversational or everyday in conversation with friends. So they show that something is so surprising or over the top that isn't hard to process. So the word nuts, it is just another fun, informal way to express the same thing. So unbelievable is a little more formal, but it carries the same strong feeling of disbelief. Okay? All right. And I think that is, for a moment, let me just check. All right. So these, before that, these rejoinders are all about expressing strong emotional surprise. Okay? That is insane. That is crazy. That is, well, that is nuts. That is unbelievable. They are just synonymous to each other. So they show strong emotional surprise. So they are like a step up from "that's great" or "that's terrible." When you see one of these words, you're telling the other person you're talking to that what they said is so surprising or so extreme that it's almost hard to believe. Okay? Which all of us here, all of these words are very similar. In many situations, you can use them interchangeably, but it's good to understand there's slightly different flavors. Okay, insane and crazy are two of the most common. We use them for things that are truly impressive or shocking. For example, if your friend says, "I finished the entire video game of in one only day," or in only one day. I'm sorry for that. In only one day. So you could say that's crazy, or that is insane. This is just a very enthusiastic and positive response. It's a very common way to express admiration and what you call that? That's crazy or that's insane. So this is enthusiastic or this is an enthusiastic and positive response. It's a very common way to express admiration. So you can also use it to things that are a little bit unbelievable or ridiculous in a funny way. So for example, if a friend tells a funny story about something silly their dog did, you could say, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." Something like that. Okay. Well, there's another very popular one. It has similar meaning to insane or crazy, but it's sometimes had a feel of being very, very exciting or unexpected. For example, if your friend tells you about a big party they went to, they might describe it by saying it was just a wild party. Okay? All right. And before we end our class, it is really... Please sit down. Not please sit down. Please listen. Okay? Force of habit. I'm so sorry. Please listen. Before we end the class, let's try to practice this one. Okay? Let's try to remember that a conversation is like It is like a game of catch. The other person throws you a sentence and you have to catch it and throw it back. So rejoinders are your way of showing you caught the ball and that you are ready to play. So having a variety of rejoinders in your toolbox will make you a more confident and natural and maybe we'll say engaging speaker. You'll be able to react appropriately to any kind of news, making the other person feel heard and making your own conversations as much as possible more enjoyable. So thank you all for your great work participation today. I hope you will start listening for and using English language teaching, okay, or degree in this particular hiring. Okay. All right. Okay. That is all for today, everyone. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the night ahead.